way. In other words, it is impossible that any of us could have killed Hifumi or moved either of their bodies. On the other hand, Hiro and Kyoko had disappeared, so they most certainly could have done those things.
Oh, Hiro's within a locker.
So what now, Kyoko?
For now, we can't get fixated on who did it, or we'll just keep going around in circles. So instead of who, I propose we start talking about how. In particular, I think we need to figure out how Hifumi's body got moved.
That's true. We searched everywhere, but we couldn't figure out how to explain his body disappearing. And according to what Celeste said,
We could not have been gone for more than a minute or two. It would seem so.
his body apparently disappeared in the 1 minute her and Hina took their eyes off of it. But to carry that much weight from the first floor up to the third in that short amount of time?
Oh man, yeah! There's no way! It'd be impossible!
Really fat shaming. What's his name? Hifumi, aren't we?
Well, what if I told you there was a way to make the impossible possible?
What? How?
He's not dead.
If the dead body were to move itself.
That was music.
The dead body moved on its own?
No! Not another... No!
Can't be good if he's still alive.
I
Hero.
don't think it has anything
down.
to do with the occult. I think what she's implying is we thought Hifumi was dead, but perhaps in reality he was still alive.
He was alive?
Are you saying Hifumi wasn't carried out of the nurse's office, but simply walked out on his own?
Yes.
I mean, we found his body. He was dead.
Clearly not. He came back later.
Perhaps he was simply playing dead.
That it isn't possible.
And why is that? If Hifumi's still alive, is it really possible? Why am I using that one? Hang on a minute.
Are you saying that when we first found Hifumi in the nurse's office, there's a chance he was actually still alive?
No, it is impossible.
And why is that?
Hifumi was dead, without a doubt.
But he wasn't. He talked
You know
later.
that how? Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the rest of us. Hifumi's dead body had been found. And that is why the announcement was made.
Yeah, but they found Taka's body at the same time, though.
Are we really so sure about that? Maybe the announcement was intended to signal someone else's discovery.
Yeah, wait a second. Yeah, they finally found him, so that means
There's a chance he was actually
that
still
would mean it would have gone
alive.
on for Taka, because Taka was
It is
dead.
impossible. Hifumi was dead, without a doubt.
Yeah, because they played it again later when we did find both bodies.
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the rest of us. Hifumi's dead body had been found. And that
Oh, come
is why
on.
the Are we really? Maybe the announcement was intended to signal someone else's.
Shit, I fucked up.
Are you saying that when we first there's a chance?
Hang on.
Hifumi was dead, and you know that. Surely you heard the body, Hifumi's dead body, and that is.
Are we really? Maybe the announcement was intended to signal someone else's discovery.
Yeah. Okay, hang on.
Are you saying that when we first there's a chance he...
No. Hifumi was dead.
And you know that how?
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the Hifumi's dead body had been found.
No, because we heard it later on.
Was the body discovery announcement that was made really intended for Hifumi?
Of course it was. The announcement played right after we discovered his body.
Yeah, but they found Taka's body at the same time.
Maybe. But that was also the same time that Taka's body was found.
That's right. It wasn't long after finding his body that we heard the announcement.
So there's a good chance we've made a mistake in there somewhere. I think we've confused whether the announcement was for Hifumi or Taka.
First of all, if 2 bodies had been found, there really should have been 2 announcements.
Maybe Monokuma simply got lazy and rolled them together into one.
He's right there. He can just say yes or
What do
no.
you say, Monokuma? Any comment?
Well, it's a very sensitive issue, so I can't go into too much detail. But what I can say about the body discovery announcement is that it's only broadcast when 3 or more people find a dead body for the first time.
That didn't answer our question, man. We're asking if you're a lazy bum.
No, actually, that was plenty.
Because it played again when we found Taka and Hifumi.
He said it's only broadcast when a body is discovered for the first time. Which means, even if we find the same body again later, he won't make the announcement again. If that's true, then why was the announcement made again later on?
Huh? Later on?
When we found the body, they
We
played
heard
a second
the body
time.
discovery announcement twice.
I think the first time it played was when we found each body in the nurse's office equipment room. The time it played when both bodies were rediscovered.
Got it! We heard it a second time in the repository, when we rediscovered the 2 bodies.
Ding dong, might be discovered. After a very amount of time, you know, whatever.
It didn't seem weird at the time, but it contradicts what Monokuma just told us, doesn't it?
Exactly. If we were actually rediscovering both bodies, the announcement shouldn't have played.
And in reality, when the 2 dead bodies were rediscovered, one of them was actually
Newly dead.
being discovered for the first time.
So, when we found Hifumi the first time in the nurse's office, he wasn't actually dead yet. Meaning, he wasn't actually found dead until we came upon him in the repository.
And that's just part of it. There's one other thing that leads me to believe he was still alive in the nurse's office.
Fucking glasses.
Oh, I know! Because he was super good at playing dead! Bada bing, bada boom!
That is the worst logic I have ever heard. But honestly, I do not think there's anything that can prove he was still alive.
His glasses.
Okay, then. Let's take another look at the events surrounding the discovery of his body. Then it should become clear whether he was really alive or not.
This
His
whole
glasses.
thing is pointless.
Here's some fruit. Yeah, the glasses.
Well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi's body was in the nurse's office. And then, while me and Celeste were in the bathroom, his body disappeared.
And the next time we saw his body, it was in the repository.
Right.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body after being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned,
Shit.
Shoot!
Okay, it's not. That's wrong.
well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi, and then, well, his body disappeared.
And the next time, it was in the repository.
But when you compare his body before being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned, there was no notable difference.
No, that's wrong.
I was so convinced you could say some shit like, oh, it wasn't any
In
different,
fact,
but no.
There was one clear
Fucked up
difference
that first
between
one.
Hifumi in the nurse's office and the repository. His glasses. That fact alone proves that he was only playing dead in the beginning.
Perhaps you'd like to fill the rest of us in?
Fucking assers. Can this
When we
trial
found
end
Hifumi
soon?
in the nurse's office, his glasses were covered with blood. But when we found him again later in the repository, they were spotless. And I found the item he used to wipe them clean in the nurse's office trash can.
Yeah, I did. Glass wipe.
I got it! It was a glasses cleaning cloth featuring a certain cartoon mascot. One look at the bloodstain on the cloth should make things clear. This piece of cloth was used to wipe Hifumi's glasses clean.
They did a goddamn good job too. I never seen glass wipe work that well.
And the mascot on the cloth is the same one that's on the digital camera, right? And whose digital camera was it? Hifumi's, of course.
The character was Princess Piggles from Demon Angel Pretty Pudgy Princess, I think.
I highly doubt anyone but Hifumi would have brought something like this to school.
I see your point. And the only people here who wear glasses are...
I wouldn't be caught dead using a tacky piece of garbage like that.
I actually forgot he wore
A
glasses.
few tissues is all I need to keep my glasses clean.
Then there's no question. It belonged to Hifumi.
So what you're saying is... What exactly?
Hifumi was faking his death.
What I'm saying is,
Hey, let me
the
reposition
blood
myself
on
in my
his
chair.
glasses was wiped away using his own glasses cleaning cloth.
Even if that is true, it does not mean he wiped the blood off himself.
Who else would have done it?
Who would benefit from a clean pair of glasses other than the glasses owner?
That's a good point.
Then it must have been him, right?
So let's assume that Hifumi was still alive in the nurse's office. He pretends to be dead. Then when he's alone, he wipes his glasses clean so he can see. Then he
Right.
stands up and walks out on his own 2 feet.
Correct.
And with that, the impossible task of moving his copious corpse becomes possible, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Then, if he was just pretending to be dead, what was with all that blood? Was it paint or something?
No, the fridge had blood packets in it.
The fridge in the nurse's office contains packs of blood for emergencies. He probably used one of those.
He figured if he was gonna play dead, he should go all out, so he just dumped it everywhere! But he got crazy with it and had to wipe his glasses off when he was done! God, what an idiot!
And if Hifumi was still alive at that point, the disappearance of Taka's body is easily explained.
Yep.
It should be perfectly obvious who must have moved Taka's corpse.
It was Hifumi.
I got it! It could only have been Hifumi.
While we were all gathered in the nurse's office, he went to the equipment room and took Taka's body.
That also explains how the door to the repository got locked.
The door was locked? Well, after the bodies disappeared, we all went looking for them, right? So me and Sakura headed for the repository. But when we got there, the door was locked.
And the repository door can only be locked from the inside. Which means, when Hina and Sakura got to the repository, someone was already inside.
And it could only have been Hifumi, who just finished stashing Taka's body there.
He convinced us all he was dead, and when he saw his chance, he dragged Taka's body to the repository. So, Hifumi wasn't just another victim in this case. He was one of the assailants.
Yep.
But that means he took part in the murders.
Murderer.
I just can't believe it.
He didn't murder himself.
If you're having trouble, would you like me to show you one more piece of evidence?
There's more?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
wait.
The single
There's
biggest
more.
fact pointing to his involvement has yet to be revealed. You know what I'm talking about, right, Makoto? The item he took off of Taka's lifeless body?
The fucking note.
I got it! You're talking about the note Hifumi had hidden away, aren't you?
Hidden note?
Yep.
That's right. We found it stuffed in his pants.
What? In his
Yeah, not the most dignified place.
pants?
Yes, his pants.
Okay, well, forget about the pants for now. Take a look at what the note says.
Find a hole, maybe we need to escape. Monokuma can't find out, so don't tell anyone else for now. Let's meet in the equipment room at 6 a.m.
That's the note I was telling you about. The one that told me where to go. Huh? Wait, this one's a little different. In my note it said, Monokuma can't find out, so don't tell anyone else for now. Let's meet in the rec room at 1 a.m.
I see. Then this note isn't the same one Hiro got.
It's not the same?
In other words, the killer got in touch with another person besides Hiro, And that person could only have been...
Taka Hifumi's pants.
I got it! That's right! Taka! The killer used this note to draw out Taka and murder him.
Hello? Over here! Objection! Objection!
Shut up!
I don't really understand what's going on, but Hifumi had that letter, right? So
Yes.
whoever wrote it wasn't drawing out TikTok, they were drawing out Happy!
Just to be clear, TikTok is Taka and Huffy is Hifumi, right?
Ugh, yes! Why must you ruin it every time?
Man, just like Jack is seriously scary, but still, I can't let her get to me.
Huffy had the note, right? Then the person it was intended for must have been Huffy!
Shit!
But remember what the note said. What time did it say to meet?
6 a.m., I believe.
The time doesn't matter! The note has nothing to do with TikTok!
No, that's wrong!
When Taka
No,
died.
there absolutely is a connection.
What the hell are you talking about?
The note said to meet at 6 a.m., which is the same time Taka was murdered. You've already proven that using his wristwatch. But there's more. Look where the note says to meet. The equipment room, right?
Where he was murdered.
Which is where Taka was killed. I see.
So, Taka was murdered at both the time and place written in the note. I think that should be plenty to show that this note was definitely meant for Taka.
Well, when you put it like that... No further objections!
God, I hate you.
Then someone used that note to trick Taka. Just the same as me. The culprit really is a cold-blooded monster. Telling people they found a way out.
But if they gave the note to Taka, what was Hifumi doing with it?
Hifumi took it from the body. We already said that.
Stuffed down his pants, no less!
Most likely, Hifumi stole it off Taka's corpse after he died.
Huh? He stole it?
We already said that.
Where's your proof? Go ahead, show us.
I got it! When I searched Taka's body, I saw that his lifeless hand was gripping a small scrap of
I mean, you didn't see shit. Kyoko did.
If I'm right about this, the sheet of paper this piece came from is... I knew it! It fits perfectly with the note we found hidden on Hifumi.
Then Taka's scrap and Hifumi's note.
Yup, they're from the same piece of paper.
Hifumi had the note meant for Taka, while Taka's corpse still grasped a small piece of that note. There's only
Yes.
one way to explain it.
Hifumi took the note.
Taka died clutching the note. Hifumi tried to free the note from his death grip, leaving behind only one small scrap. Did I get all that right?
That means Hifumi knew the note was important.
Exactly. Which proves that he was an accomplice in the murder.
Whoa. Yeah. After seeing all this, Hifumi was super involved in this whole thing for sure.
Yes, no shit.
In fact, he was behind the whole thing. In fact, he's still alive.
No, he's not.
Sorry, no.
He's dead though, hell.
When we found him in the repository, Hifumi was truly and completely dead.
Except for that 2 seconds he came back to life
The
for.
second body discovery announcement proves that.
So then, who killed Hifumi?
Whoever did is the mastermind, the true killer.
He was killed in the repository. So he must have been killed not long after transporting Taka's body.
So, he must have been killed after Taka's body vanished, but before we found both bodies in the repository.
Correct. But who found the bodies?
During that time, we'd all split
was
up and were
Celeste.
searching for Taka's missing body. In other words, during that time, none of us have alibis.
Wait, but me and Sakura were together.
Stop trying to steal the spotlight, you stupid walrus!
Who are you calling a walrus?
Anyway, when they were killed bothers me too. But there's something that's been bothering me even more.
And what's
And
that?
what might that be?
The weapon they used to kill Hifumi.
The weapon?
Yeah, because I mean, according to the Monokuma file, the way Taka and Hifumi were killed was almost the same, with them having similar fractures and all. But Justice Hammer 3 and 4 were still laying around in the nurse's office and equipment room, right?
Right.
So if Hifumi was killed in the repository,
Use one of the other hammers.
the culprit would have had to grab one of the hammers, kill Hifumi, then put the hammer back where they found it. But wouldn't that be seriously risky for him?
I'm surprised. It seems there's some semblance of a brain knocking around that skull of yours after.
Hell yeah, it's packed in there good and tight.
He's right, though. I don't understand
Well,
it.
one of them was wet.
The Monokuma file makes it clear that they were killed using similar instruments. But if the hammers were already laying around those other rooms,
So the question is, how could the culprit have gotten their hands on either of the hammers? Personally, I haven't a clue.
So which hammer was used to attack Celeste?
Those were accounted for in other rooms too. And I don't think either one is big enough to kill someone.
Then,
Is it not possible they used a different weapon?
I don't think it is possible. They were both killed with the same kind of thing, right?
They were killed. He was killed in the room with the other hammers.
so then, what was used to kill Hifumi?
Oh, then that she could have used the kid. I hope it should sound okay. Blah blah. Not to find the truth.
What was used to kill Hifumi? Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was, there's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it?
He didn't use one of those weapons.
Number 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Well, one thing seems pretty clear. The murder weapon had to be one of the Justice.
No, it does not.
The murder weapon wasn't a justice hammer at all. No, it was something completely different.
No, I won't say completely different.
But seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. The killer could have easily used that to kill Hifumi. Now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris, but for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean. And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder.
That's
If
right.
the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood, of course they'd have to clean it off. I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones,
Thick ones, thin
and
ones.
even some flat mallet-like ones. I think whoever made the Justice Hammers used those as a basis for their design.
If that's true, that would explain the Monokuma file's note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used a hammer to kill him.
Yeah.
Whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with. And the one who betrayed him.
Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him.
How else would he
The way
die?
the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder. So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not?
We did talk about how there wouldn't be any reason everyone would work together. At least that's what we thought at first. But how else would there be two dead people if there was collusion?
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were 2 murders.
Yes, blah blah blah.
Based on the rules that have been let, even if more than only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive, assuming the rule holds true. It is
Not impossible, because 2 people are dead. I don't think Hifumi bashed his own brains in.
Since there were 2 murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been 1 murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only 1 person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus reward benefit?
Yes, a reward to make the risk validate the risk. That's how it works.
Payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes possible.
You're saying that 2 people could act as each other's accomplices to commit 2 separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime, and based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders.
But 2 people committing 2 different murders.
Instead, each person killed someone, creating 2 separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice.
Yep.
Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
Yep.
That's just awful. How could anyone be so cruel?
And the murder wasn't cool enough. The betrayal was what gets up to you.
I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
Yeah, no shit. The effort made to convince us the 2 murders were the same. That's what the main characters at the time. Kyoko must have noticed the fact from the very beginning, which is why she said not to look at this as a series of connected events, but to totally separate incidences. Particularly amazing, although when you think about it, she's also almost too amazing. Like, it's almost unnatural how good she is at
I
this.
understand how an accomplice could be involved, but then who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now.
She manipulated, the true killer manipulated Hifumi to carry out a number of actions and then murdered him. And the debates up till now, the way the case has unfolded, who would consider all that? There's only one person who seems to fit. Celeste.
Here's my answer. It was Celeste.
Ah, so I'm the suspicious individual now, am I?
Yes, you are.
I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying, then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit from brains, that lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot!
Where'd your accent go?
Pardonnez-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the 2 of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the 2 of you were working together.
They were the only ones that saw Robo-Justice, though.
I got it! The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit. doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Yep.
Shush. The adults are talking now.
Oh, fuck you.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costumed individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
That's right.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
Yep.
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
I saw a shadow, someone moving around the top of the stairs.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
Stuff is wrong. Well, they ran out to scream. I saw a strange man. He ran up to the screen, blocked the stairs. Blah, blah, blah,
Once
blah,
she'd
blah, blah,
done
blah.
her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
Huh? What was that? Came downstairs. Hifumi, the nurse, blah, blah, blah.
It was to get us to divide into two groups. So that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up.
I we split into two groups. A hunting party seems more interesting. Very well, the Makoto and Hina would come to me to the nurse's office. I will leave the capture of such a
Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected.
Well,
And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the third floor, everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead,
so without spitting this, I did not imagine that Hifumi would be murdered.
Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it. Everything. The whole thing was one big act.
Why is that such a shock, Hina?
Hina,
Everyone
you were with
before this has been a
Celeste when
big act.
Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it.
She's going to anyways.
You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that that one little slip-up was your undoing.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
You must really be enjoying this, and you're inside of us standing around frightened and confused. We're all going to die here. We're all going to die just like those guys did.
I remember her saying that too, but
Oh, but she didn't know about
don't
Taka yet.
understand what's so strange about it.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed. So Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the four of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
Oh my god, you idiot.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
Like I said, this list of the comment doesn't make any sense, but what is it alluding to?
All I said was, they must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be.
Why are you playing it up so much,
positively
Jesus?
elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. It's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah,
what was
right.
so strange about Celeste's comment?
Why would she know about guys plural if we hadn't told her about Taka yet?
All I said was, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to die.
We are going to die, just like those.
No, that's wrong.
You didn't know about Taka yet. How would you know about that?
That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died. When she said that, none of us had told her Taka was dead.
Exactly. And we didn't run into her until after we were all out in the hall. So there was never any chance for her to have seen his body in the equipment room for herself.
So how did you know, Celeste? How did you know more than one person had been killed? And how did you know they were both guys? Because Kyoko had also disappeared, right? So she could have been dead too.
I mean, she could have been used guys like colloquially, because like you can still call a bunch of girls guys. You know when you say, "Hey, you guys."
You all have such vivid imaginations. You know that?
Imaginations.
You claim that I was lying when I told you about the suspicious person I saw. Then what about the picture I took? How do you explain this picture of the costumed villain dragging Hifumi away?
It has to be some kind of setup, right? So let's put the suit on. And then she used the camera's
Okay, well,
timer to...
A, she can't put a suit on.
Set up
B,
the
the
picture.
phone, the camera doesn't have a timer on it.
Have you so quickly forgotten? You are the only one who could have possibly fit into that suit. Plus, I happen to know that this particular camera does not have a timer. In other words, it is an unassailable fact that this is a picture of Hifumi being dragged away.
No, it's not.
If everything I told you was a lie, how can this picture exist?
Simple. Are we sure that's really a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away?
What could you possibly mean by that?
Surely there are other explanations than the one you've offered up.
No, there is no other explanation.
No, it's Hifumi dragging the body away. There wasn't a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away. It's Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
I got it! It's not a picture of the suspect dragging Hifumi away.
It's the other way
I would say
around.
it's a picture of Hifumi dragging the suspect away.
That's certainly within the realm of possibility. The one being dragged off in that picture isn't Hifumi, but the person in the robot suit. We've simply been led to believe that it's the other way around. And the strange costume might only exist to lead us astray even farther. If you saw someone wearing something like that in this situation, of course you'd notice and be suspicious.
That's what happened! You put me to sleep and made me out to be the bad guy in all this!
Laughing again.
Such a thing is utterly impossible.
And why is that?
Hifumi was dragging him away? Ridiculous.
Is it? I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Then shut your mouth and allow me to educate you.
You can try. I think you can prove that there's no way we're gonna say everybody possible.
You dressed me up in that suit after I passed out! Then you just draped me across Hifumi and had him carry my weight! You tried to make me look like the bad guy.
Like I said, ridiculous.
Explain why
As you
then.
can see in